We very much welcome input from the public. Because this meeting is only being live streamed, public comment will be handled as follows. The public can email comments to be read during public participation to rtjalma@belvideresd.org. Public comment on agenda items need to be received by 7:10 p.m. and have public participation number 1 in the subject line. Public comment that is not related to the agenda items needs to be received by 7:30 p.m. and have public participation number 2 in the subject line of the email. So I guess the first thing we need to do is pass a resolution to suspend certain meeting procedures, as we said. So can I have a first and a second for that?
Motion.
Second, somebody?
Second.
Okay. Let's do our stand for our flag salute. Thank you, Chris. Oh, all in favor? Thank you. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Any opposed? I was getting there, Sal. Any abstentions? Okay. Let's stand for our flag salute.
I'll stand out of the way of the flag so everybody can see it.
You can stand in front of the fingers. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag.
of the United States of America,
To the
Republic, for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty,
liberty, and
justice
justice for all.
Okay. So you want to do roll call?
Yeah. Mr. Blum? Mrs. Bocchino? Mrs. Costantino? Here. Dr. Zuppet? Doc? You hear me?
They
You're
can't
on.
muted.
Yeah, he's muted. Mrs. Duckworth? Here. Mr. LeBar? Mr. Lucas?
Here.
Mrs. Pell?
Here.
Mrs. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Staffen?
Here.
And Mrs. Williams?
Here.
I think Doc's unmuted if you want to try him again.
Doc, we got you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it's only 7:07, but do you have any public participation to start?
I do.
Okay.
I do have one that is labeled public participation number 1, but it's not agenda related. Should I hold that until the second one?
Yeah, if it's not agenda related, you probably should.
Okay. Okay, the first one is from Carolyn Serbone. I have a couple of questions about item number 10 on the agenda. Do we know what the cost would be to open up camp, and what, if any, cost will be if we are unable to open or we do not have high enough enrollment due to the current health environment? If we do decide to open, is the plan to follow guidelines laid out by the CDC, the state, or a mix of both? Once approved, I would assume a plan will be worked on in regards to communication of social distancing protocol, a closure process in case of presumptive COVID positive, and this will be provided to all parents prior to payment and enrollment.
Okay, what else you got?
Okay, the next one is from Christy Weber. Good evening, my name is Christy Weber. As of last week, I have assumed the duties of the Belvedere Education Association's president. I want to quickly introduce myself to those of you on the board who may not know me. I'm finishing up my 18th year in Belvedere, and I've been active in our association for the past 12 years. I'm excited to take on this new role in the BEA and look forward to amicably working together with our members, the administration, as well as the board. With my new role, Stephanie Golda has agreed to step into the vice president position for the BEA. In addition, our association treasurer, Teresa Smith, and our secretary, Debbie Bonoma, are going to continue working with us closely to represent our members. We've already met with Mr. Karuba virtually this week to lay the foundation for an open dialogue between the association, administration, and the board. We're looking forward to creating solutions for any issues that may arise and anticipate working collaboratively for the greater good of the district, the students, and the employees. Thank you.
Good.
I have another one. This one is from John Owens. As the PERC order in spring 2019 ruled that AmeriHealth is not equal to or better than the contractual Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, and the grievance against changing to AmeriHealth is currently in arbitration, I would like to know why the board is planning on renewing this plan for the 2021 school year. Thank you. And that's all for public participation number 1. I'm double checking. Yep. Okay, that's it for now.
That's it. All right, and we're at 7:10, so I'd say we're okay.
Yeah.
So we can close public participation and move on to any correspondence.
I do not have any.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
I got quite a few things tonight on my report. I will address Mrs. Serbone's questions on number 10 as I go through that, if that's okay.
Yes.
Before I begin with anything else, I do want to just take a moment again, as I have started the last 2 meetings, just thanking everybody from the Belvedere community. We're getting closer to the finish line now, finally, with our virtual school. I think since the last time we met, it become official that we are going to finish the year in the virtual setting. I think most people expected that. It was still a shock and a sting nonetheless. I think there was always a little bit of hope we would somehow be able to come back in. But just want to just say again how much I appreciate the teachers' efforts. I know it's not been easy, and I know as this is going longer, it's become more difficult, especially with the kids. I'm sure once it got warmer. I know with my own kids, as soon as it got warmer, trying to keep them in front of a computer for a set amount of hours wasn't easy. So I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the hard work of the custodians and trying to keep the building clean. We've been good about keeping people out. We did have some students back in over the last week and a half to pick up their belongings. So I know they've done a great job on following up with that. So again, just those thank yous. And I know it's been a tough time for everyone. But hopefully we're near the end of the road here with this, and we can hopefully have somewhat of a fresh start next year. I just want to, real quick before I start some other items, Mrs. Zerbone actually sent a PTO report to me, and I just want to share what she just had to say. Real quick, they met virtually in April and discussed Teacher Appreciation Week and delaying their fundraising until the summer. They actually did put together for the Teacher Appreciation Week, they were able to put together a parade that the fire department participated in. Went by the school on one day where we actually had some teachers in because we knew that they were going to help us get stuff together for the kids. So we do appreciate that. They have started to move forward with fundraising. They plan to sell Belvedere Proud signs, which can be really popular right now, but obviously it's hard to do some of that stuff now with the social distancing that's in place. And she did say she wanted to let us know that they're all caught up with their tax issues that they had coming in when Mrs. Zerbone took over. So we do appreciate her reaching out and giving us an update. And I expect that she'll probably do that for as many meetings as she can, and I'll be happy to pass some information along. The few other things to mention, obviously graduation for both the 8th grade and the high school are the big topics of discussion. I'm going to quote Dr. Lamonte. As we met last week, she had one of the best lines I heard. She said, we should just get a banner made that says guidance is forthcoming from the Department of Education. Because every time we discuss something, the conversation turns to guidance is forthcoming. So we do have some plans that were shared. I know with the 8th grade parents, there was a meeting today. And then Ms. Lazare and Ms. McKinney were going to get a message out to the senior parents. We have plans in place that are contingent on the prosecutor allowing us to do a few things. We do believe that will happen. But as of this second, and as the battle cry has been over the last 3 weeks when it comes to graduation, is as of this moment, we are still allowed virtual only. But we do believe that on Friday we're going to get guidance that will lift that. So the plans that are put in place, which the 8th grade plan will be a drive up in front of the building, and then the high school, we're going to do a drive up through the athletic field. We're going to put a stage up. Those should be good to go, and hopefully we'll get that definitive word on Friday so we can make it a definitive plan. The two things to mention are, and we met this morning, myself, Mr. Lazare, and Ms. McKinney, met with some of the senior students and a couple of parents, and I I just said the two things we have to keep in mind is number one, the seniors have to do 180 days before we can issue the diploma, which will be fine because we hit day 180 on June the 9th. And they have to graduate by June 30th as of now by code. Now that could be one of those things that the governor could say we can push that into the summer. And one of the things we talked with the seniors today about was, would they really want to be coming back in late July or early August, depending on as the time kind of goes by. So some stuff to think about. I'm hoping that I can give everybody a definitive answer on graduation on Friday. But as of now, as I like to say, the guidance is still forthcoming. So if any parents or any board members have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'll do our best to answer, but hopefully some of that information got out today. The next thing on the list is we got our QSAC scores back. I think came in on Monday. So I'm going to just share the information with the board score-wise, and then I will share the documents with you on Friday. I have one outstanding question that I'm waiting for one answer on. So keep in mind that for every category, it's out of 100, you need an 80 to pass, okay? I'll start with the one area we did not pass in, which was our instruction and programming. We got a 77 out of 100, so we're 3 points short of passing. I do have to write a corrective action plan for that. The problem is that we are below that 80 because of our test scores, and I don't believe we're going to have standardized testing for this next academic school year. So I'm trying to get some information on appropriate way to write the plan. In our fiscal area, we got a 91 out of 100. Governance, we got an 88 out of 100. I mentioned to Marianne, I know we were talking about my evaluation. We lost 6 points. 6 of the 12 points in that area was just on my evaluation alone, not being board approved by June 30th. Operations was a 91 out of 100. Personnel was 100 out of 100. So those are the scores. I will send you the documents. You can see how we self-scored versus how the county scored, which is the county on behalf of the state. So those are our scores. Any questions on that real quick? If not, you can always wait until you see everything and you can send me questions over the weekend.
Chris?
Yep.
It's not June 30th yet.
So does that mean?
Did you say that we lost 6 points because an evaluation wasn't done by June 30th?
Last year.
This is the previous school year that you're talking about?
Right.
All right.
They do the QSAC visit in, I believe, it was right before we went out. So March, right on the 10th, I think was the date.
Yeah, I want to say that.
Yeah, it was the Tuesday before we wound up closing. And we had to submit all of our data by November the 15th, Brian.
All right.
That's not last year.
Okay.
So that's the thing. So, like I said, I'm just looking for some guidance from Dr. Lamonte on how to write the IMP, the instruction and programming action plan, given that we didn't have testing this year, and I would suggest we probably want to have testing again next year. So when I hear that, I'll let everybody know. On to some good news. Usually at this meeting, we take time and we introduce our top 10 seniors who graduate in the top 10 of the class. Obviously, in this virtual setting, we can't do that, but I would like to take a moment to announce who our top 10 is and also which township they're from and where they are going to go to school. So I'll do it in no particular order other than the top 2, so you know who your valedictorian and salutatorian are. We have Demetria Nicolopoulos from White Township as part of the top 10. She'll be attending New York University. Sierra May from Hope will be attending Westchester University. Kira Gately, Belvedere, will be going to County College of Morris. Kevin Dolan of Belvedere will be going to Hofstra. Jenna Bruckman from Harmony will be attending Lafayette College. Cassie Fox from Harmony will be attending Liberty University. Amelia Belay from Harmony will be going to Warren County Community College, but also the American Repertory Ballet School. Ashley Harrison from Harmony will be going to George Washington University. And our salutatorian is Gabriella Lessive. She's from Hope Township. She'll be attending George Washington. And our valedictorian this year for the class of 2020 is Alex Woodward from Hope Township also, and he will be attending Hofstra University. So congratulations to our top 10. Well-deserved and holding on through the last couple of weeks, but they did an outstanding job, and really appreciate their hard work and their hard effort. So thank you to them. A few more things. Sorry, I'm going to go a little bit longer than normal tonight, but I did send an email out to the board at some point over the last few weeks about dropping the school year from 181 to 180, which would put us out on June 9th rather than June 10th. I didn't get many responses to that, so I just want to float that out there again that we do have the ability to cut one day off of the calendar and finish up June 9th, which I think would probably be better at this point for the kids instead of that one last day of the virtual environment, especially when it gets warmer in June.
Do you, Chris, do you want a motion?
If you want to do that, we can do that, or you can save it for maybe continuing business, and you can do it during that portion. Does that make sense?
It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm in favor of it, and I'll move it. But you know, it's up to Mary Ann where she'd like to put it on the agenda.
Wherever is easiest, so we don't forget it.
You can just do it now then if you'd like to, just to have it done.
Yeah, I thought your email was talking about us voting at the meeting. I didn't realize that you wanted a response email.
Yeah, I was just looking for some input to get an idea if everybody was in favor or if anybody was against. So, but yeah, if you want to make a motion, I guess Brian did make a motion then.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? You got it, Chris.
Okay, so June 9th will be the last day of virtual school, so we'll get some information out on Friday to the parents. I know in Mrs. Cerbone's question, she was asking about the summer camps, and I talked to Mary Ann about this morning. Mr. Smith had a series of questions. Mrs. Stephan had a series of questions. I would suggest we table the motion tonight. Number one, we look to our family work connection to answer some of the questions that Mr. Smith had. We did not get a response. And second, Mrs. Stephan had some questions that were specific to the cleaning procedure. So my suggestion would be to table that number 10. I don't believe we're going to be able to open the building for student use on June the 22nd anyway. So it does give us a little bit of time to do that. So that's my suggestion on that. So maybe we remember when we get to that point, we just table that.
You got it.
If you check your email today, at least I got from school boards, they put together a reopening, I'll call it like a report on reopening the schools for the year. I got through about half of their report today. It was actually it was a good read. Just to remind everybody, we have had 2 meetings with the district-wide reopening committee. There's about 12 of us on the committee to start talking about what it's going to look like come September or August 31st, September 1st, whatever our date is. At this point, it's hard to say what's going to happen because we certainly don't know if we're going to be all out, or half, or some blended version of that. I started this afternoon really looking at some schedules and trying to get creative with how to maintain social distancing, looking at the CDC guidelines as of now, what they look like, and trying to put something together. So hopefully over the next 2 weeks, when we get a little bit clearer vision from the state as to what they're thinking, and I know that Governor Murphy had said it a couple of times that he hopes to have kids in school in September, but there's a lot of steps to get there. As soon as I get something, together, I'll share with the board so everybody can take a look at it. But we've had some good discussions with the staff and trying to come up with a plan. So, and then we'll get as much information out as we can to the parents as soon as we can. But obviously, this changes basically every day. So,
can I just add something about that?
Sure. Yep.
So, you know how we have the instructional council, and I'm sure they haven't had, much to do being virtual, but could we take 1 or 2 of those, I think we only have 2 members anyway, and add them to this committee? It might be helpful to have a board member there as well, just so we kind of all know how this reopening plan is gonna work. If one of them can be invited.
That's fine with me. We meet during the day, so Mrs. Stephan can't do it.
I might be able to make time.
Yeah, in fact, I have no problem with that at all. I think it's a very good idea.
I can help with that.
Okay.
Good.
So I lied to you, Mrs. Constantino. We're slated to meet again the first Monday in June, so it's a little under 2 weeks.
All right, sounds good.
And I think that's my lengthy report for tonight, if there's any questions or concerns.
Does anybody have any questions for Chris? Comments? I had just one, Chris, and I mentioned it to you today, but I want to bring it up in public session. There was a posting on Facebook, and it's on our phone app that talks about how we have academic and behavioral coaches, and the app and the phone and the Facebook posting leads you to believe that you can just reach out and contact these people on your own, but that posting needs to come down, and it needs to be contact the building principals, because there needs to be a vetting process to ensure that we're putting the right kids in contact with the right coaches.
Very good, yeah, you and I discussed that, and I'll mention that tomorrow in our administrative meeting, make sure that comes down and is amended.
Yeah, I think it's a great program. That's not the point. The point is we can't just have parents going and picking their own coaches and starting something that we don't even know about.
Okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll move on then. Can I get a motion and a second for personnel items 1 through, hold on, bear with me, I gotta turn the page. 1 through 6, and there are add-ons to number 4.
Motion.
Second.
We ask questions about those, 1 through 6?
Hang on,
Okay.
so we got a motion and a second? Okay, anybody have questions or comments about, personnel items?
I do.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kat.
For number 3, I thought we had tabled that, and I didn't know that we approved that.
Number 3 is the regular extended learner. It's not the gifted and talented that was presented a few months ago.
Is this a new stipend, or is this an existing that we've always,
The existing stipend that's been contractual for
okay,
a long time.
then that was the confusion, okay. And then my other question was, hold on, on the maintenance painting. How come the custodians aren't doing that?
We have traditionally hired, used to be Mr. Welch, but he retired from the show. We've hired, two members to paint since I've been here for 10 years. It's like extra work that the custodians, since they're focused on doing the cleaning, that they just can't get to. So that's been going on for at least the 10 years I've been involved with Belvedere.
Okay,
I had questions on, 1 and 3 also, in that, not on the positions themselves, but why didn't we already, approve them? You know, I remember approving all the spring coaches months ago.
Which ones you mean?
For number 1, for track, didn't we already do all the spring sports?
We did. His name was not submitted when we did that first round of coaches. And Coach, I can speak that Coach Devine, certainly he did the winter track for a volunteer. It got missed, and I wanted to make sure that
Okay, so it was missed.
paid. Yeah, it was missed.
And I guess the same thing was for number 3 then, we missed that?
I don't know, did we just not adjust it, Shell, when,
Number 3 is just a correction of the stipend.
No.
It's just the amount that was approved was the incorrect amount. There were several versions when we actually approved the contract, and this must have come off of the wrong version.
Okay. And then number 2 with New Jersey Smart and Preschool, I mean, I know we have a secretary there, that it's an additional stipend for preschool?
it's for both. It's for preschool and for the NJ Smart. The NJ Smart is time consuming, and Ms. Godlewski does a lot of that work beyond her normal work hours. So that's why she gets that. And then we do have to have, I think, Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, but with the plan for the preschool, we have to have an administrative assistant, and they encourage a stipend. So
Yeah,
it's basically
paid from
basically a
the
split.
preschool, from the preschool funding.
And then, I just have a question about all of number 4. So, believe me, I get it, these are all clubs we always have. What my concern is right now is sports, we decided we're not approving for the fall. I get why, we don't know if we're having sports. But honestly, if we find ourselves in a virtual situation in the fall, and we already have state financial issues. I would like to table, I'm not saying I don't want all of number 4, but I would like to table it to see what our position is. Because that's a lot of money on the table that really, they're great things, but I don't think they're necessities right now. Instead of having to go back and say, well, you know, we're virtual, we really don't need FFA, or we really don't need yearbook, we could have cut that, but we already approved them, so now we have to pay them. I just think if we should count sports in the same boat of the extracurriculars. Wait.
Yeah, I agree with that, because on the, under the sports, it says contingent on what happens, but it doesn't say that for the academic stipends. So I was also wondering what's the difference between the academic versus the sports stipends?
We
So
actually did add that in there, guys, on number 4, do you see that?
Yeah, it's right on the other, it's on the
Contingent
first page
on
of the report.
in-school learning only and student participation.
Right, but we don't have the coaches on there, and I think it's all in the same.
So by contract, it says we have to appoint the co-curricular personnel by a certain date. It does not say that for athletic positions. So that's why we put that on
In
there.
this situation, okay.
All right, so contractually they have to be there.
I don't disagree with you, by the way, Mrs. Scott. I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just answering your question.
It was by
So
June 1st, correct, Chris?
So we're gonna vote on that, and then if we don't have in-school learning, then they will not be paid, or we have to vote on which ones will be paid?
If we're not in school, then it should be all or nothing.
An all or nothing type of situation?
I agree.
Okay.
And the only other question I had on 1 through 6 is on the bottom, so believe me, I understand that the curriculum coordinators have done a ton of work. But now that we have a director of innovation and special projects, which, you know, I've asked about, and we said it was, you know, technology, but also curriculum, why that's not under Ms. McKinney's position? Why are we paying additional, you know, I just know in my district, the director of curriculum is in charge of curriculum, BSI, testing, things like that. Now that we have that additional position, I'm not saying teachers aren't gonna be involved in writing curriculum, but do we need those coordinators now that we have somebody for that position?
It's an excellent question, which I really haven't given a lot of thought to be quite honest with you. If you want to table that, maybe we should do that, then I can review that before the next meeting.
Will we be able to table it and still get it in for June 1st? No, would be my,
Well, you could table it because we had a discussion about it.
There's also other ones that aren't listed here because we didn't get anyone interested yet. So not every position is being hired tonight anyway.
So, Chris, what other positions would be like the curriculum stipend then? Like, what's a BSI coordinator?
that was my question as well.
And the elementary testing, would those two stipends be under potentially, the new position of the Director of Innovation and Special Projects?
I will say for the elementary testing, likely yes, but for BSI coordinator, it's a basic skills instructor for the high school where Mr. Danchek handles a lot of the, I try to say this politically correct, a lot of the special needs students, especially when it comes to doing portfolio assessments and things of that nature when it comes to helping them to the finish line in high school. I didn't answer that really, go ahead. I didn't really answer that greatly, but that's sort of a hybrid position that she holds.
Wouldn't that fall under the RTI now and coaches?
It will eventually, but we have to do things specific to the state. They want one coordinator to do that. So, but all of these positions are absolutely up for review with the new position of Director of Innovation.
Okay, so the elementary testing.
Be a good conversation for curriculum. But go ahead,
Okay.
Catherine.
So the elementary testing would be under the position, but the BSI coordinator would not be.
Correct.
Okay.
Additional question if nobody else has anything.
That's it.
The National Honor Society, didn't we add Junior National Honor Society?
We did, but it's still a sidebar agreement.
Not part of the
It's not-
contract?
It's not in the contract, that it's a sidebar. Hopefully we'll get that in the next round of negotiations.
So, but is that just gonna happen, or are we gonna pay that?
We're gonna have to we have to, re-sign off on that sidebar.
Okay,
So we usually do the sidebars, towards the beginning of the school year.
okay, I'm
Just
just
do a long
double
check.
checking. Took a long time to get that in, I don't wanna miss it.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Chris or comments?
No, I just wanna know for the vote, when we go to vote, we're tabling then, I just wanna know how to vote for number 4.
Yeah.
You know, cause we have 2 sections.
Yeah.
One section we said we would table, and the other section we said we had to approve. So I'm not sure how to vote that way.
So we're gonna table the curriculum coordinators for both the elementary and the high school, correct?
Correct.
Are we tabling, elementary testing coordinator?
You can table that also.
And there's a high school one as well, correct?
That falls under with Mr. Damchuk with that BSI coordinator as well.
And that we can't table because that's the state mandates the BSI
You can
coordinator?
table that if you'd like, and then I can give you better information on that.
Okay, so let's table all of
And
them.
I'll just have to see how it falls under the Director of Innovation position as written.
So now the change that Shelley was talking to must be the add-on, email that came, from the secretary today. Now that lists number 4, and it has it highlighted, listed as contingent upon in-school learning, but it only lists the high school position down. It doesn't list the whole thing on here. But is
Right, so
it,
Those are just 3 add-ons.
Those are just 3 add-ons. Those are people that applied for those positions after we put the agenda together on Monday.
okay, so that would have
that-
just been added in that line that says contingent to the in-school learning would have been for the whole thing.
Yeah, you're just gonna
Correct.
add those 3 from the email into this number 4 that we're.
Okay, in that paragraph.
Yep.
Goes on it too. Okay, that's, I just wasn't sure. I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, it's different.
Alright, so are we all clear on what we're tabling? And is that what we wanna table?
I would table them. There's discussion that needs to be had about the positions.
Okay. Is that good, Jen?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem, I just wanna make sure we're all clear. Okay, anything else on the personnel items? All right, so roll call?
Mr. Blum?
He's muted.
Here, I'll unmute.
Mr. Blum, can you hear me? I'll
I'm
come
trying to
back.
unmute everybody, but it's not working.
Okay, I'll come back around.
Bob,
Mrs.
you gotta,
Pepper?
if you can hear us, Bob, you gotta unmute yourself.
No, I can't unmute everybody. I've been trying.
If it's muted on his side, there's nothing you can do.
Mrs. Cosentino?
Yeah.
Dr. Zuppeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Mrs. Pell?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Back around to you, Mr. Blum. Can you hear me?
I'm still showing him muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't unmute him. I'm trying. David,
Bob, again, if you can hear us, you gotta unmute yourself.
I'll send him an email.
All right. Let's move on. We can add him, if he gets unmuted, we can add his vote in, Shell.
Okay.
All right, agenda items are for under education, 7 through 10.
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
Get a table number 10. Get a table
Table
number
number
10.
10. I would like to say one thing on number 10, and I don't know that this is crystal clear to the public. This is not Belvedere Schools summer camp. This is an independent company using our facility for summer camp. So really, we don't have much to say about their rules. If people want to understand how they're doing things, they should really reach out to the company, not us. I don't know that that was ever crystal clear when we first approved the summer camp, the the company coming in to do after-school care. It's not us running the after-school care.
Did we find out if they were gonna be paying any rent or anything like that? We were supposed to be looking into those things too.
No,
Yeah.
we let them use our facilities free.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I would have a problem if we were doing our extended school year stuff virtually, and then they're doing a summer camp there. I mean, I'd rather have the teachers in the building, our teachers, than to have summer camp going on there.
Right.
Agree 100%.
So we'll table it, I had a bunch of questions, Brian had a bunch of questions, and then we can discuss it again. Tabling doesn't mean we're gonna approve it, it just means we're gonna discuss it one more time.
We did reach out to them Monday morning and we have not heard back on the questions, so.
All right, so any, questions, comments, or concerns on 7 through 9?
Just a comment real quick on number 8, the revised, closure plan that I sent out, it was part of the agenda. That's just to make sure that we are officially approved for the 180 days to count towards the virtual to count towards the 180-day requirement. The only real change on that was extended school year, and I had to put the dates that were intending extended school year, which would be with the beginning date of July 27th. We'll go July 27th to August 20th. And then if it was in person, that would give the custodians another week to clean the rooms that were used for extended school year. And if it's not, and it's still virtual, I still feel that it makes more sense to not start the kids early in July and then stop them again for another month and then come back again. So it'll run straight through, so the kids will have a week off.
Did you post those positions for extended school year yet?
We have not. We're waiting to see virtual or non-virtual. And again, guidance is forthcoming.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I did just hear from Mr. Blum, he's having technical difficulties. But he did vote, so he's voted yes to all except number 6.
Okay, so he needs to send you, Bob, if you can hear us, send another email on education items 7 through 9. So I guess any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so we're good there. Okay, motion and a second, business items 11 through, I think it's 18A.
Motion.
Just that A is on the Maraschino contract as an add-in. Brian, that motion, second, somebody?
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Okay, so now we're to continuing business. We have CSA evaluation under continuing business now. Jen, you had sent a bunch of questions, but before we say anything, we can talk about the process, not the person.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make, that's not just for you, that's for everybody. So we're going to talk about the evaluation, but we can't talk about Chris per se. We can talk about the process of this CSA evaluation. Just want everybody to be clear on that before somebody says something we shouldn't.
Marion, you should probably mention you're gonna need another meeting in June, basically for the evaluation results, because we only have one meeting in June, and that's the late meeting, and you wanna have everything board approved at that meeting, which means you're gonna need an executive session prior to that. So you might wanna float some dates around too to meet again with a short agenda, but that would focus around my evaluation.
Now, let me just say something, Chris. Last year, we did the meeting to discuss an your evaluation after everybody turned theirs in. Sean then gave you your evaluation, so to speak. We needed at that point to come back to another meeting to approve it, which we didn't.
Correct.
Which is where we lost our point. So we need 2 meetings, one to discuss and then one to approve.
Right, so ideally, the late June meeting, I forget the exact date, 25th, 27th?
Let me get my calendar.
27th. You would be approving the evaluation at that meeting. So you would need a meeting somewhere before that, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that, to go over the results with the whole board.
Probably just a week before, because once we go over once the board comes together and comes up with their results, all we need to do is I need to discuss it with you, give you your evaluation, and then we need to come back and approve it. So that almost could be, if you and I are home, are available that week, that could almost be in the same. So I don't think we need more than, I'd rather give more time up front to get the evaluation done and the discussion than leaving it for the end of it.
Correct.
So yeah, we are gonna have to put in 2 meetings in June.
Right, so you just want to make sure that that at the last meeting, the official meeting, you have it approved. That's where we lost the
Correct.
points, because it was never board approved.
So if nobody's gonna be on
Graduations
vacation,
and things, we need to get those dates like figured out.
I was gonna say, if nobody has an objection, why don't we put in June 17th, which is a Wednesday, we could do a 7 o'clock, and we could pretty much do just an exec session, whatever we have to do to do an exec session for us to talk about your evaluation, and then come back on the 24th to approve it. Does anybody have any problems with that on the surface?
No?
Okay, so let's pencil that in, shall, add those 2 meetings, 6/17 and 6/24.
But the 24th is already scheduled, right? I'm just
Correct.
adding in the
Yes,
second.
as a matter, you're right, I forgot, it's blue in my phone.
Okay,
So we can approve it on the 24th, so we just need to add the 17th for the executive session. Okay. That part's done. Now, let me just, for those of you who are new, which there's a couple of you, let me just explain how this has worked. School boards, does a service where we can go on their website, they post questions, and I sent you out the blank one from last year that was on school board, so I assume this year's will be the same. I took all the scores out. And we go in as board members and we fill it in, add comments. Well, all school boards does is at that point take the finished evaluations and they average out the scores and come up with an average score in each category. And then they list all the comments everybody made in each category, not by person's name, just this comment was listed. And then they give it back to us. The problem with school boards is, and we had this problem last year, first of all, I couldn't get in. It took 3 weeks for them to allow me to get in. And there was another board member that couldn't get in until sometime in August. So we weren't able to complete our end of the evaluations in the virtual setting in their system till sometime in late August. They then tallied them and so we didn't even get the finished copy back from school boards till September 1st. So that really put us behind the 8 ball. So the discussions Chris and I had is school boards only does the tallying, which can be done in 15 minutes by myself. The president does get to see who made what comments in the school board version, so I would get to see them either way. And I can put the tally together, but at least this way, the whole process is under our control. We can set our dates as to when we want to get this done and to meet the deadline of June 30th. So what you do have in front of you is the one that Chris sent out, which is the one Hope uses. The one I sent you yesterday, I believe it was, is the one from school boards. They're basically the same. One just has, I think, better wording in it. So we can discuss on if people have stronger feelings on one version versus the other as kind of a crapshoot. We just chose to go with Hope's. I do think we should leave it out of the school board's hands because we'll never make our June 30th deadline. We didn't last year when everything was running well. We'll never make it this year with everything not running well.
So I just have 2 questions about that. I get it. I'm just wondering what every other district does. Like, how do they get theirs by June 30th? You know, if they're using the school board.
I don't know how many use school boards and how many don't. I know Hope does not, we do. Chris, can you talk about, or Colleen, what does White use?
I'd say it's probably about a 50-50 mix that use school boards and those that do not. There's a bunch that you could use. You know, I think a lot of people like to use school boards because it's a service that school boards provides and you feel like you're getting a little bit of something from your dues. The only thing I can say is I can say 2 things. Number one is you can try to use school boards. The problem that we're having right now is I don't know, Sheila, you can talk this. I don't know if you've even heard back from them. We're trying to get Melissa added and Glenn Matlock taken out. I don't think that's happened yet, and that was another holdup we had last year, was trying to get the new members in and the old members out.
and I sent that request, had to be a month ago now at least.
Yeah. And the second thing is, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about them pushing the evaluation date back to at least July 31st. That just, again, same as every other conversation I've had about what the state's going to do, awaiting guidance. So I think you're better off trying to get it done at the June 27th meeting. I know, I guess you had Hope, I know for sure uses, what's the one we used was Hope's. I don't know if Ms. Williams wants to just mention what White Township uses. Harmony does use the school boards.
Mm-hmm.
And White uses the school boards, but I did mine and sent it to Mary Ann today for Belvedere, and I feel that it was better process at Belvedere, utilizing what you really want to, evaluate. When they use, just governmental, lingo when, they make up the survey, and it's not as specific to the district. I liked this one better than White's.
And Chris, you're super in Harmony too, though, so they're using school boards. How do they get it done in time?
They start the process earlier.
So is that something we have to, like, work on next year as a group? Okay. And then we have our lawyer here, so it's all okay to not use school boards, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't have to use them, we just have to have it done by the 30th.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to use school boards now.
Mr. Blum is still having technical issues, but he is shooting me emails. He did complete his vote. He voted yes to items 7 and 9. He also voted yes to the finance items, abstaining from items 16 and 17. And as far as the evaluation goes, he did notate that board members, who do not reply to Mr. Krupa's evaluation, the costas point should be ashamed of themselves, but maybe he is now hearing that there were some technical issues in why we didn't get it done. But it seems that he's definitely in favor of us, getting everybody completing.
And
Is
then
he-
Mariette, sorry, go ahead.
And so, Mr. Blum's in favor of school boards or not, or the new one?
He has not commented on one versus the other, just feels we should complete whatever version is being done. Everyone should take part that can.
Yeah, definitely.
I just had more questions on the process.
Yeah.
So I understand the tallying part, and then once I don't know, I guess maybe because I'm new to it, I don't even know what last year's looked like. I don't know that people that were on the board last year saw the final. Like, how does that,
They
the
do, they
final of it
see,
work?
what I sent you out is what they see, except it's filled in. So in other words, and I don't even have it in front of me, but we're, under each one, off to the right-hand side of it, there was like proficient.
Right.
So it'll say like a 1 there, a 3 there, a 2 there, depending on how many people said proficient, how many people said not proficient, how many people declined to answer. It'll have a number there, so we would see the average. So most people said it was proficient, or most people said he was fine. And then the back of those sheets all had all the comments that everybody listed. You saw those, but this is a personnel record, which means you can't keep them. They need to be destroyed.
Okay. So the only the president sees the final evaluation, is that?
No, we all saw it. We all had it in front of us at executive session, but
So
yeah, turn
everybody
it back
saw the
in.
final. Okay.
So we'll have to figure out how we're gonna do that in a virtual setting. But yeah, we all were looking at it in front of us. You didn't have the names of who made the comments, so you're kind of making them anonymously if you don't want anybody else to know what your comments are gonna be. But that way we could discuss them and then decide as a board what our final comment was gonna be to Chris.
Jen, basically just because I've been through this, and last year I was very confused too. I bet my dog is gonna howl in a minute. Stop. What Mary Ann will do is take all of our comments and she will put them together along with her own into a commentary for each question. And then after that, we will all get together and see what her commentary was.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. I didn't know where it ended up after we fill our part out.
And that's what we'll discuss at the executive session. And like I said, we'll come up with as a group, what the ratings will be in the categories and what the comments will be we wanna go back to Chris with.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions? Oh, the goals, Jen, we never set goals for Chris last year, which is why they're not on the evaluation. We don't have any goals to rate him against. We just set the goals back in February, as this board did. So next year, we'll actually have goals to rate him on. So that's shame on us last year.
Okay.
Did that answer all your questions?
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions on?
We had goals for Chris last year.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. When we had that whole meeting, we discussed a bunch of goals that Sean was gonna communicate.
No, they weren't goals.
Oh,
The goals, when we got together with Dr. Zawicki and set those goals
oh,
in February, those are the goals that are on the evaluation that we're supposed to rate him against. And we started to try to set that meeting up back in July, and we finally did that in February.
So just to kind of, I think, answer one of the questions Jen had, in an ideal world, we'll get together in July and August and set goals for the school year. And then we would start the evaluation process really in February. So in February, was assuming that school boards gets the system up and running, which they usually do sometime between February and March. They were delayed this year getting their system up. Then I get that out, and you guys can meet once, say right around, back in April, to go through the process, make sure you have the information that you need. And then really this meeting, you could have had all of the numbers tallied, where you could have met an executive session and came up with the evaluation. And then in the June meeting, you'd be, instead of having an extra meeting, you'd have the natural meeting where you would approve the evaluation. So
I guess we just kind of forgot. I'm not really sure what happened.
the hardest part of it is the setting the goals, and especially when we knew going into this school year that by January we would have 3, maybe 4 new board members. So setting goals with a board that wasn't going to see it all the way through probably wasn't practical, and setting new goals like we did in late January with Dr. Zawicki was more practical. That's my opinion, of course. I'm not speaking for the entire board.
No, that's pretty much it, as I recall.
I just didn't know if it had to come from a specific committee that kind of like has to, whether it's curriculum or it's another committee, to kind of be in charge of that, or is it, I know it's the full board doing the evaluation, but it just seems like it's hard to organize the full board when we have a full agenda each month, to remember to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Ideally, we would have a meeting separate from anything else that's just like we did this year, just goal setting.
Right.
So like when we had Dr. Zawicki came in, it was just for that purpose of setting goals for whether you look at it for half a year, 18 months, for everyone, however you want to label that. Ideally, you would do that sometime either later in the summer or, by the end of September, the latest. But it's a standalone meeting where the whole board participates.
So then when we make our calendar for next year, for our monthly meeting calendar that I think is usually set by August or something, we should, put that in then, so we don't forget our special meeting.
We should actually do it in this July.
Right, that's what I mean, the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
someone should come up with a list of deadlines that we all have to meet. Maybe some sort of spreadsheet or something of important deadlines that we have to meet, and maybe someone should monitor the progress.
The only deadline you have to meet is June 30th, having it approved. That's really the only deadline. It's just as a board when you want to hit those days.
Right, our own mini due dates to get it done.
Yeah. The
I
school
would
boards,
think the
school
state
boards
would
has,
would
school
have
boards has
some kind of guideline, right?
school boards has a guideline of when they think you should, be doing all of those things.
Maybe
if you
we
wanna,
need to print out of that and try to follow it.
You can do that.
Yeah.
That might make it easier than trying to remember things by who remembers what.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's put that on the to-do list, Chris.
That should not be on Chris's to-do list.
No,
It's the
no,
evaluation you guys
I
are
said,
giving.
put it on. You didn't say you had to do it. I said, let's put it on.
I'll be happy to share the document with you, but you guys have to.
Yeah, send me the document.
So I have a question about the superintendent evaluation form that was sent to us. So I was just pulling it up here so I could look it over while we're having this conversation. And what's on here is like already being filled out by somebody. So how do we use this form? Do we have to load it into another form or something?
Which one are you looking at?
The one that Chris sent us, that's the Belvedere School District Superintendent
Yes,
evaluation form.
yes.
Already got rating numbers, it's got people's comments on here, and I can go in and edit it if I want to, so how are we supposed to use this? Do we have to put it in like our own doc or something? If you look at it right now, it's already got stuff on it.
Yeah,
No.
you should download that separately and make it your own document.
Okay,
Just make a file, make a copy, I don't know if it's on docs.
Correct. And if you're having a problem with that, just let me know and I can convert it to whatever, whether Google Docs, whether a Word document, whatever you need it.
Okay, yeah, because I looked at it, I'm like, wait, the other day when I looked at it, there wasn't stuff on here, now there is, so I figured, I'm sure my son can do something with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do.
Why is there comments in it, Chris? There shouldn't be.
Somebody must be answering it, not realizing that it's an open document. Because I know the kids, I only know that because the kids have had to do that for certain things for school, where they have to like copy.
Yeah, you have to make your own copy.
Google Doc and then fill it out.
Yeah.
Everybody, make sure you download it onto your desktop or something before you fill it out. Save it
Mary?
there, and then,
That's what I needed to do today, because the very first question came to us with an answer and a rating in it.
okay. Chris, can you clear that out if anything's in there, since you're the owner of that doc? And everybody, please download it to your personal computer or whatever you're using, fill it out and send it to me from there, so it's not, I'm assuming you don't want it out for the world to see.
I'll clear it out. I'll try to convert it to, I don't know if everybody prefers Google or Word, so I'll try to do it to both and then I'll send it out.
And then save it to your personal computer and then email it to me. That's assuming that everybody's okay with going that route, as opposed to trying to work it out with school boards. Does anybody
I
have?
just started getting email stuff through the school board information, so I don't know if they have it fixed now or not, but just like in the past week or two, I started seeing their stuff come over my email.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
That system's fixed.
I'm okay with using the other form for this year, being that we're in this situation and knowing how the process works a little bit, but I would next year like to use school boards. I just want to make sure we follow those dates.
Sure, we can. If that's what the board would like, that's what we can do.
Melissa, I'm just gonna check right now on school board's website to see if you're listed.
Okay, yeah, because I wasn't getting anything from them before, and then I know Shelley was saying she was trying to add me, and then just in the past week or so, all of a sudden my email started coming up with all the stuff, so I figured they must be getting me somewhere in their system.
Okay, I'll just check while we're going
Okay.
through the meeting.
So if nobody, I'm gonna put it this way, if nobody has any strong objections to not, we'll go with the hope form for this year, do it the way we discussed, and then try it again on page with school boards for next year.
Yep. As long as we get it done.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do.
Mary Ann, did you get mine?
Yes, I did, Brian.
Okay, and was it completely filled out?
I didn't read it yet.
Oh, good. Oh, well, if
I
there's,
had stuff in it, but I didn't read it.
if it's incomplete, tell me, and if Mrs. Douglas got mine, I apologize for all the ones I gave Chris, but don't tell him that.
Melissa, you are listed, so they must have corrected that, just not let us know.
All right, perfect.
Okay, any other continuing business?
Rose, Mary, I just want to mention one thing, really is a continuing business, but I'm remiss because I didn't mention project graduation and the beautiful banner they put on the high school for our graduating seniors. I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to see that. It was put up yesterday or Monday. We really appreciate project graduation and what they've tried to do for our seniors in this tough time. But it's a really cool looking banner. So if you haven't driven by the high school in a few days, take a drive by. You can see it's an awesome banner.
Are
So
the
thanks to
individual
them.
names in it, Chris? I couldn't tell from the street. Are the names of the graduates in it?
It looks like it.
Yeah, I think so.
They were supposed to be. Yeah, I know they had a couple of versions, and I think the last version I saw was the names were in it. Yeah.
Okay, from driving past it on the street, it looked like there was something, but I couldn't tell what. I didn't have a chance to stop.
I think the honk banner, the honk signs are really nice for the school kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time doing that. I got to the Harmony kids and to quite a few of the White Township kids. It was great to see the kids, and we did give them, you don't know what Mr. Lucas is talking about. We stopped by for all the seniors, gave them their cap and gowns and a t-shirt and the signs. Did that last Tuesday. First, it was just great to see the students and their parents, but it was nice to talk to them and let them know what we're trying to do for graduation. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Mr. Lucas.
I just wanted to say something else positive. Today, I guess Mrs. Cornegay put goodie bags from Stokes, and she did a really cool virtual field trip. I'm sure she had some help too, but today and tomorrow, and it was a nice job.
Good.
Sounds like a nice break.
Yeah, she gave them all kinds of snacks and everything, and a joke, like, you can wear it as a mask, I guess. And had all kinds of activities. It was really cute.
It's also the Alumni Association for the banner too, not just the project graduation. And I just shot a text out to our county superintendent. And I think I'm okay to announce that, for the second consecutive year, Belvedere has the County Teacher of the Year. Courtney Kopp is the recipient. So I'm happy to announce that, following up in Ms. Koch's shoes from last year. So we're 2 years in a row, Belvedere winning County Teacher of the Year. So congratulations to Ms. Kopp. I think Dr. Lamonte is actually calling her as we speak.
Good. Congratulations to her. All right, if there are continuing business, let's move on. Is there any new business? Nobody has anything new? Okay. We're going to go to an exec, so we'll do our public participation before that. So, Shel, have you gotten any public participation?
I do have a couple. Let's see. Okay, this one is from Autumn Weidlich, one of our seniors. Dear Belvedere Board of Education, I am Autumn Weidlich, a high school senior at Belvedere. I wish I could be there in person tonight to address my concerns with all of you, but unfortunately, due to the current pandemic, I cannot. As a high school senior, there are many things that we look forward to, such as the senior class trip, senior prom, senior skip day, and many more. But none of those things were things that the class of 2020 got to experience. BHS has been home to the class of 2020 for the past 4 years, and now that it has come to an end, we have missed out on so many things, and graduation is the last thing we can hold on to for hope of some normalcy. I ask you to please help out the administrators in pushing for a graduation for the class, or at least the opportunity for one, just like every class before us has had. School is also something that has been turned on its head, not only for the seniors, but every single student at Belvedere and all over the world. I am grateful to have access to technology to be able to continue my education at home, and for the amazing teachers who have helped us through this tough time. I understand that this is a learning curve for everyone, even the teachers, but there comes a time when schools should wind down. Under normal circumstances for seniors, the year would be coming to an end, yet we are still learning virtually. The things we are learning are not necessary to gain knowledge, and in some cases, there's even too much work for us right now, especially considering the amount of stress seniors are under. Unnecessary schoolwork is just adding to it all. I hope that everyone on the board fights for the class of 2020 and their right to have a graduation. Thank you for your time and consideration. Autumn Weidlich. And then I have another one. This is from Wendy Flynn. I would like to address the concerns of safety and accessibility of students and their Google online features. My son is 8 years old and has discovered that he can email and receive emails from other sources outside of the @BelvedereSD.org community. He has also discovered that all extensions are accessible through the Google Chrome store. As a teacher in a surrounding district, I find this to be of concern. I understand we are in challenging times, but due to the at-home education and unstructured school days, we are leaving our children open to new discoveries that may not be age appropriate and easily monitored. It is my responsibility as a parent to monitor and ask questions about his education, but it's the district's responsibility to have safety measures on the tools given to all age levels. And I have one last one. This is from Jeff Weidlich. I am writing to express my support of all efforts being made to hold an in-person graduation for our senior class. I am aware that Mr. Karuba and Mr. Lazaro are making every effort to have an in-person graduation with modifications to address all restrictions in place from the governor, New Jersey State Police, and Department of Health. It is my hope that the members of the board also support this effort to give the senior class the best send-off possible in these difficult times. I would encourage you to contact our 3 legislators, Senator Dougherty, Assemblyman DeMaio, and Assemblyman Peterson, to request that they continue to push for the ability of schools to hold graduation ceremonies in person with all appropriate safety precautions. Thank you, Jeff Weidlich, Harmony Township. And that is all I have.
Okay.
Just just to comment real quick on Mrs. Lynn's concerns, those were also raised, by a member of the board, so I don't know that member of the board wants to, chime in, but, I did reach out to Mr. Lee about some of the concerns, because I think they were similar to what was sent. And that is something we're looking at moving forward, especially with the younger kids and their ability to email out and things of that nature. So we will be addressing that.
Okay, so, we'll go into executive session. We're not gonna take action, right? When we come out?
Not gonna take action.
Okay. All right, so let me read our statement. It is hereby resolved that the board will now go into private session to discuss legal matters. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the private session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session. The board will not take action following the closed session. Do I have a motion and a second to go into exec?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, what do we do, Chris? We'll do 6 o'clock curriculum and 7. Okay. Before we adjourn, does anybody have anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn?